the birth of a legend. With its core components built on authority and integrity, the Langham Hospitality Group has the ability to be the frontrunner of a growing hospitality industry, given its 4 pillars of design, innovation, captivation, and service. Good afternoon. My name is Murali Joshi. To my right is Ravi Butt, Carson Lamb, and Josh Ye, and we're here to take Langham Hospitality Group to a future of sustainable success. Now, given the current situation, we believe that it's imperative to ensure that customer loyalty is kept within LHG since it may otherwise go elsewhere. And through our analysis, we understand that there are several existing brands for LHG to capture on, and it's important to capture the 2 fastest growing segments, which we'll discuss later in the presentation. Now, additionally, looking at your core competencies, we've understood that you've had a great foundation in the traditions of excellence, given the 4 pillars, and also, more importantly, have unique brands for unique customer segments, which is critical since it allows LHG to have a traditional formula for success and in turn develop a new hospitality strategy. Now, we have a value proposition, and the key question that we've outlined today is how can LHG have a new hospitality strategy that is catered towards improving customer loyalty as well as your existing brands? And looking at the 3 key issues, while understanding that there are several key issues, we've outlined the 3 most important issues, which we believe are, first, understanding the growing market given the millennial segment. The second is understanding what are the potential opportunities in China for business travel. And finally, recognizing that management structure and business model can be changed to ensure long-term success. And accordingly, we've developed a 3-pronged strategy, as you can see above, that indicates empowering the global citizen. The second is ensuring a premier Eastern luxury brand. And finally, pivoting yourself for a long-term sustainability in the future, which ultimately creates a financial implication of 82 million Hong Kong dollars over a payback period of 2.6 years. And more importantly, improving your brand awareness and customer loyalty over the short term and the long term. And so looking at our 3-tier strategy, we've outlined what exactly can Langham Hospitality Group do in the short term and the long term. And according to the Global Hospitality Insights, they've outlined 2 key customer segments which have the largest influence in the hospitality sector, which include the millennial market, as Ravi will begin to address in our first strategy. And the second is the growing global market in China for business travelers, as Carson will mention as well. But we also took into consideration the Langham and Langham Place brand and how exactly the Langham and Langham Place brand are critical and imperative for your success. And understanding the importance, we believe that it's done a great job thus far, and it's important to create a more scalable and sustainable model in the future. And hence, Josh will talk about our 3rd recommendation for our 3-tier strategy. And with that, Ravi will begin to discuss how you can empower the world citizen.
So you've identified that you want to address the millennial customer segment by repositioning your Eaton brand to lend to the needs and desires of that customer segmentation. So our first strategy aims to reposition the Eaton brand to develop a lifestyle brand to better meet the needs of that millennial guest. So in order to do that, we had to assess what the Eaton brand currently does. And you've done a very strong job of positioning the Eaton brand to lend to the modern lifestyle that the millennial guest is looking for. But in order to develop the Eaton brand further and meet the needs of the millennial guests, you need to ensure that you ingratiate yourself in their lifestyle and really develop the Eaton brand to be an extension of their lifestyle both before and after their stay. So in order to do this, you first need to really understand what the millennial guest is looking for. And we've identified 4 key factors that really outline who the millennial guest is. They have this speed orientation where they value speed and convenience over face-to-face interaction, and they want to make decisions quickly. In addition to that, they have this cause orientation where they feel that their spending needs to be going to causes more so than their own personal enjoyment. Additionally, they're very social in the sense that they've developed a strong connection between the physical world and the online realm. And success in this space is really dependent on Eaton entering that online space and communicating and ingratiating the lifestyle with the millennial customer. Ultimately, however, the millennial guest is visiting the Eaton Hotel to ingratiate themselves and interact with the local community, environment, and the taste and customs of that space. Now, in order to develop this lifestyle brand, we wanted to carry out this mantra of empowering the world citizen. And what this really means is developing a sense of community within the hotel, bringing the guests of the hotel together and into the community around them, but also bringing that community into the hotel. And what that really means is focusing on the decor and art within the hotel, as well as developing the restaurant cuisine to meet the needs of the millennial customer, in the sense that you're developing a cuisine that connects with the local environment. Ultimately, you want to expand your CSR initiatives in order to provide a positive impact on the environment, as well as a positive impact on the social sphere around the hotel, as well as internationally. Now, in order to develop a lifestyle brand, the first step is understanding and defining that brand. The second two steps involve, first, ingratiating that mindset into the customer and expanding the number of touch points you have with that customer. And in order to do this, we looked at a McKinsey study and developed a 3-step process to do so. So in expanding the touch points, you want to make sure you are following and targeting the key mediums through which the customer will be reached. But more importantly, you want to focus on the luxurious lifestyle that the Eaton brand provides. And what this really means is the focus should not be on the hotel experience, but more so on the mindset and the lifestyle that that customer will have. And the third step is expanding your core offering in order to allow them to really live out that lifestyle upon arrival. So we recognize that the lifestyle should extend well before the stay, as well as beyond the stay. So before the stay, we recommend that you develop a mobile app that will allow the millennial guests to interact with the brand before they actually arrive to the hotel. And what this really means is emphasizing the lifestyle of the world citizen and developing a blog and a social media sphere in order to ingratiate the customer into that mindset. Now, during the stay, we want to ensure that this mobile app allows the customer to check in, as well as identify the key events and deals that are available to them during their stay. In addition to that, however, we want to ensure that they are interacting with the local community, and we recommend that Eaton provide the classes and tours necessary to bring hotel guests together and bring them into that community, as well as, like I said earlier, developing the artwork from the local community and the cuisine. Ultimately, you want to expand your CSR initiative by partnering with a local nonprofit partner, as well as an international nonprofit partner, and developing economically and environmentally sustainable products. Now, after the stay, you really want to leverage the data mine that this mobile app provides for you and allows you to kind of target and position specific promotional strategies for the individual customer, and ultimately allows you to better understand the millennial guest and provide the service offering that they really need. Now I'm going to hand it off to Carson, or before I hand it off to Carson, I'm actually going to outline some of the results financially that this provides. Ultimately, we recognize an upfront cost in developing the mobile app and continuing with this marketing and CSR initiatives, but ultimately you'll be able to recognize and realize increased revenue of $300 million. Yes?
Let me ask you just a couple of questions. Curious, I understand, okay, the idea of put together a mobile app, something you can look at. How do I get you to put my old mobile app on your phone?
Right, so the idea is to utilize the existing customer base and target them as the first step in gaining traction with that mobile app. In addition to that, we really want to focus on allowing the customer to make decisions through this mobile app. So they will be able to make reservations, they'll be able to understand their loyalty account, and they'll be able to understand what they will be doing during their stay at the Eaton Hotel. And in doing so, you'll be able to encourage them to use the app.
Okay. And another thing, at one point you referred to this as luxury. What do you mean by that?
So you've positioned your Langham and Langham Place brand to provide a luxurious environment, but in repositioning the Eaton brand, you really want to focus on ensuring that the luxurious lifestyle that is available to them in other areas and other hotels remains the same. So this includes quality customer service, ensuring that the amenities provided to them maintain that luxurious lifestyle. But the key factor that's going to target the millennial customer segment really has to do with connecting with the local environment and ensuring that you meet their needs in terms of speed, cause orientation, social togetherness, and maintaining that connection with the environment.
So as a millennium, you're saying you don't want to associate with luxury?
No, the Eaton brand will be associated with luxury, and it's going to target that top percentage of the millennial customer that really is looking for a luxurious lifestyle during travel. So,
Thank you.
So the key cost drivers here are the mobile app and the marketing and CSR initiatives. But at the end of the day, what this really means is increased revenue of 300 million Hong Kong dollars and a net ROI over a 5-year period of 94%. Now that we've repositioned the Eaton brand to target this millennial guest, I'm going to hand it off to Carson to speak to our Ying Hotel strategy.
So Robbie walked you through how you can reposition and rebrand Eaton to capture this key segment known as the millennials. Now, I'd like to walk you through how you can introduce this new brand X that you have in store for 2015 to capture the second most important customer segment today, which is the Chinese business travelers. Now, these two segments have massive market opportunities. Similar to the first segment, this segment has a huge market opportunity of over $1.7 trillion in the current hospitality industry. Now, we notice an industry trend where most luxury hotels right now very much have a Western origin, where they're founded mostly by American or European companies. But at the same time, Langham Hospitality Group has a different kind of origin in which it's owned by a Chinese conglomerate, a family-owned Chinese conglomerate known as the Great Eagles. We believe that for this reason, as well as for the fact that you already serve a lot of Chinese customers, and for the fact that you've accumulated a wealth of experience, expertise, and success in managing luxury brands, that you are the best poised to take on this new Eastern luxury concept and to introduce and establish an Eastern luxury brand. So we introduced the Ying Hotel, which leverages the amenity program that you already offer in your Langham hotels, but takes that to the next level by really making this hotel the quintessential Eastern luxury experience through a new fourth brand. And what this really means is, let's say I'm a Chinese business traveler from Beijing, and I'm going to walk into the first Ying Hotel in Shanghai. The moment I walk in, I should be infused by the Chinese-centric design in this hotel, not only from the ambiance and decor and the service, but also through the in-room experience, the cuisines I can experience, the shopping experiences around me. And it really reminds me that even though I'm all the way in Shanghai, not in Beijing, I have a sense of home. I have a sense that I feel a little bit at home, even though I'm on a business trip. Now, replicating this process or experience for American business travelers like Ravi or Murali, they'll experience the same kind of Ying hotel luxury brand, because the idea behind this new hotel is that it's very different from your 3 other hotels. It's a unique brand for a unique customer segment, which is what you're best at. And taking these different components of the in-room experience, the cuisine, the shopping experience, this will be what makes Ying a different hotel from your existing 3 brands. So looking into how...
Can I ask one question?
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about the 2 new brands for the organization is also focusing in luxury sector. So how can you ensure that there is a optimal growth, expansion for the organization achieving that 100 hotel if you're only focusing in one segment?
Yeah, so we think that the Ying Hotel in particular is very much focused on business travelers, whether they're from China or from America. And at the same time, there's a huge market opportunity here. But at the same time, we don't think it's exclusive to business travelers. In the same way that Langham Place and Langham already cater to some of these business travelers, the Ying Hotel can also cater to the massive opportunity in tourism, the massive opportunity in the local communities, and that this was not an exclusive brand for any segment in particular, but rather a open and expansive plan.
So price point of view, so 3 brands are actually the same price level.
So we recognize that there are different price points in each of your brands. The Langham has the highest price point, followed by the Langham Place, followed by the Eaton. We recommend that, given that this is a luxury brand, that Ying Hotel will be another luxury brand, but despite its different focus, that there will be a similar price point across the 3. We don't know exactly what the price point will be, but we believe that it will be up there along with the other 3 brands.
Okay, thanks.
So introducing the Ying Hotel to China in 2015 will be the first step in bringing this hotel to reality. We recognize that you already plan to introduce brand X in 2015. So in 2015, we believe that China will be the first market you go into, focusing mostly on tier 1 cities, because those are the areas which have the largest pockets and deepest pockets of Chinese business travel. And the concentration of wealth there, as well as the concentration of workers there, will provide many reasons for why tier 1 cities make sense. But it's not just about the cities alone, it's also about the location in which you position the physical hotels. So therefore, we recommend focusing on areas in which there are the financial districts, the large industrial areas where there are a lot of workers, such as Lujiazui in Shanghai, focusing on companies like Alibaba or BYD to position your hotel in China. And from a company perspective, we recognize that there's a lot of different components of your current business model that you can bring to this new Ying Hotel. Things such as the marketing department in your Langham Place, where you do a great job in bringing Class A journalists to write editorials and write journals about your existing hotels, and inviting them to the Ying Hotel to experience it for themselves, to carry that publicity forward to the mass consumer market. And other components such as your 1865 loyalty card, your regional and direct sales teams, and your partnerships with many different airlines, booking agencies, all these different components that you already have with your existing hotel can be translated to the Ying Hotel to ensure its future success. Looking at this...
Hi. So this Ying Hotel, this would be a purely China brand.
It will not be a purely China brand, but we recommend introducing it in China first because you already have plans in 2015 to bring a fourth brand to China. But absolutely, in the future, this will be a global brand in global markets.
And do you think the China-centric elements will sell in overseas markets?
We think there is precedence for this. For example, the Kura Hotel in Japan is not only in Japan, but also in other regions. We think that this Eastern branding of the Ying Hotel is unique and very different from other hotels. And you're able to bring this concept and make it attractive for other customers, even if you're not a Chinese business traveler alone.
And final question, on the point of the Ying Hotel being a Chinese luxury brand, can you give me an example of another luxury brand bought by Chinese people which is Chinese?
We don't have an example of a Chinese hotel that's owned by a Chinese brand that's luxurious.
No, I mean, like anything. My point is that Chinese people buy a lot of luxury brands, but I'm not aware of any of them that is Chinese.
Yeah, I don't think among our team we actually have a Chinese luxury brand in hand, but we think this provides an opportunity for you as Langham Hospitality Group to come in with this background of the Great Eagle Group, with a deep understanding of the Chinese customers, to be the first mover in the hospitality industry, to bring the Chinese-centric design that is Ying Hotel.
Quick question. How do these three strategies relate to one another? Are they independent initiatives that we can decide upon individually, or is it something that needs to come together for a specific reason?
So I think the first point is a lot of these strategies, we address it in two ways. First, as a short term as well as a long term. So the first two strategies address the unique customer segments in a very unique way. And then the second portion, the third portion of the strategy, which Josh will mention later on, is development within the management structure and business model to make it more scalable and sustainable for the long term. So we approached it from a short-term and long-term perspective for the company, looking at it and seeing what can be done immediately in order to capture customer loyalty and brand awareness, but also what can be done internally to help establish yourself in terms of a long-term vision.
So are they individual decisions or collective decisions?
Yeah, so we think that they could be done separately, individually, in terms of unique brands, and whether or not you enter China for the Ying hotels. But like I said, there's also a collective element in terms of they are interrelated, but they're not contingent on one another.
Cool. So moving forward with the costs and the returns of the Ying Hotel strategy, we believe that this will be the most cost-intensive strategy among the three. And the reason for this is that we recommend going to China and owning the first Ying Hotel rather than leasing it through a management contract, because this will help ensure the quality control of this brand as the first one in the world and ensuring the long-term success of this brand as you roll out in other countries. So despite this large cost and investment, there's also a large opportunity for returns. There's over 1.3 Hong Kong dollars, a billion Hong Kong dollars in a 5-year incremental revenue, and this translates roughly to a return on investment of 60%.
How does that relate to typical returns in the hospitality industry?
Yeah, we think that this return is very attractive, not only because the strategy we addressed today is only focusing on the beginning of the Ying Hotel, and in the future there's a great deal of returns to be realized as you expand this brand forward.
Yeah, did you have a chance to look at any benchmark type information around typical returns for hospitality and how 60% compares to that sort of benchmark?
Yeah, we don't have direct competitor information to benchmark this return, but we think that when your net present value is greater than 0 and you have such a high average return on investment, that this project alone is very attractive from a financial point of view. So what's more important than just the financial feasibility and financial attractiveness of the strategy is that through the Ying Hotel, you're able to capture the loyalty of this growing Chinese business traveler segment. And that by introducing this brand and making it the first and foremost Eastern luxury concept, you'll be able to capture this growing segment in the years to come. Now I'd like to pass it on to Josh to talk about the long-term success of your company.
So Carson and Merle have really introduced a factor, and as well as Robbie, in terms of the strategies of branding and how that's differentiated and is very specific. And we want to take a step back and look at the bigger picture to understand what you can do for the corporate and how this is in turn for long-term sustainability and profitability in terms of management contracts. So we see the two key drivers for the need for management contracts. And first of all, that's the one for diversifying your portfolio in terms of investments. And the second one is decreasing the turnover in terms of colleagues and in terms of actually having the initiative to expand the brand management and therefore having the colleagues situation into this position. So we take a three-step approach in terms of the risk prevention. First, we start with the fact that we want to change the fee model. So this is essentially decreasing the base fee, which is tied to revenue, and therefore increasing the incentive, which is profitability. Now, this sets you as a very competitive advantage in this industry. The second one is outlining a clear agency in terms of contracts, and this means that essentially we understand that these are long-term contracts, and basically in our analysis in terms of research and understanding the property owner's main concern, they are very concerned in terms of what their position is and what their rights are. So therefore, for you, it's really important and really crucial to delineate and break down what these management rights are, and therefore secure long-term contracts, which will position you for better negotiation in the long term. And then finally, we understand the impact of what this is in terms of reducing risk, and therefore we see that in the same analysis, the property owners also are very concerned about how much risk they have to take upon, and therefore it recommends understanding how much risk you can also take and therefore be more invested in these management contracts and quality for this situation. Now, moving along into the colleague model, we introduced the case model, which essentially is not just a training program. Now, we realize right now that there's a lot of different training programs, such as the Pride model, which is a superb program to enable colleagues, but this case model is different because it's an entire module and it's also an entire platform which really empowers colleagues in this organization. As you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, there's 4 breakdowns in which this really addresses the high-level situation and a granular level situation in terms of what colleagues would perform. In the high-level situation, there's areas where communication as well as alignment in terms of promotions, brand strategy, as well as colleague strategy really enables in place. But in terms of granular level, there's also the education and support and communication within the day-to-day drivers and tasks that really enable these colleagues to perform in the best situation possible. Now, this is really crucial in conjunction with your current Pride training program as well as benchmarks, because of the fact that it's a cyclical program, and when you invest in your colleagues, they will invest in the guests. And this investment is crucial because as a result, your brand awareness and brand loyalty is truly bolstered into a new level that is crucial for your vision. Now we look at the 3 key impacts for both the case model as well as the increased management contracts, and we understand that your revenue will properly align with in terms of the investors as well as the key shareholders in these contracts. The case model really employs this cyclical feedback, which enables you to have investments into colleagues, into customers, as well as brand loyalty and awareness. And finally, the focus on hospitality operations in terms of risk management and controls will allow you to future position yourself in a more competitive industry. Now, for the cost drivers of these situations, there's 2 key big ones. First, the case training program, which is training the employees in terms of implementing this module and platform for your colleagues. And second is also the fact that you must hire new regional managers for hotels. And this regional manager hotels is a spawn of an increase in a forecasted 11 hotels, which is a key benefit driver for our strategy, as well as the 600 million Hong Kong dollar total incremental revenue from this strategy. Now, with this, Merle would like to conclude our presentation.
So what separates a good recommendation from a great recommendation, we believe, is the ability to assess the risks as well as the feasibility behind it. And accordingly, we've outlined an implementation timeline that is based off the risks inherent in any given strategy. And accordingly, as you can see here, we've broken it down into 2 key periods. The first is the short term, and the second, a longer term period. And within the short-term period, we believe that a lot of the 3-pronged strategy can be done immediately. From a Ying Hotel standpoint, there's a lot of development requirement, understanding that there's initial investment and a development portion for establishing the hotels in the respective cities. And from an empowering the global citizen, there's also a mobile application as well as a brand enforcement that needs to be taken into consideration. But also, when looking at a longer term perspective, we believe that as consultants, it's imperative to understand risks inherently involved with any changes in industry trends, and thus we believe that there needs to be a possible redesign based on industry trends as well as what can be changing in the hospitality sector a few years down the line.
So what risks should we be aware of? What could go wrong here with your proposed strategies?
Yeah, sure, 1 second. So as you can see here, we've outlined 3 critical risks for our recommendations, and the first is possibly thinking about brand cannibalization with the new Eaton brand and the repositioning of it. And we believe that, as you can see through the contingencies and mitigations, that the early brand management can allow you to develop a strong platform that prevents some sort of cannibalization. The second risk is looking at how you can possibly be hesitant adoption for the Ying hotels, given that it's something relatively new and something that is a little bit revolutionary, as we mentioned, in terms of a first mover advantage. And we believe that having an integrated product that is involved and centric to your core traditional formula of success from having a unique brand for unique customer segment is what will mitigate that risk significantly. And finally, is also the third risk, as you can see, is understanding that there's possibly a large opportunity cost from developing a management contract model, given that you are additionally taking on a little bit of risk from a portfolio perspective by increasing your incentive fee model but decreasing your base pay. However, we think that there is a greater reward, understanding that for every great benefit, there is an inherent risk involved with that, and that's something that we took into consideration as well. So with that, we'd like to go back to the value proposition, the key question that we've outlined today, which is how can LHG improve its new hospitality strategy given the improving of customer loyalty as well as its existing brands? And understanding that there's 3 key issues outlined based on our analysis, we believe that, as Ravi mentioned, empowering the global citizen or the world citizen through attracting and capturing the millennial market is our first recommendation. And our second recommendation is to be able to establish the premier Eastern luxury brand by creating Brand X as the Ying Hotel, as Carson mentioned. And finally, as Josh just recently mentioned, we want to be able to take and pivot for the long-term sustainability, create a scalable and sustainable business model that can ensure LHG has the opportunity to be great and reach its financial impact of 82 million NPV over a 5-year period, as well as a 2.6-year payback period, as well as ultimately increase your brand awareness and customer loyalty, which drives down to the key question. So looking back at your 4 pillars of design, service, innovation, and captivation, we believe that through our 3-pronged strategy, we can really help use your traditional formula of success and innovation to help drive a future and sustainable success. So we thank the board for your time today and like to open the floor for any additional questions.
Thank you for your presentation. Can I ask you one question about the revenue and the expenses of case training versus sales and advertising? In your slide about sales and advertising, you mentioned that Hong Kong dollars 40 million will be spent on advertising over 5 years. That means you only have like 2.8 million a year. Versus for case training is 36 million over 5 years. So how many people will be benefited from the training? Because for me, I came from a PR background. 2.8 million per year as the budget for advertising is nothing. I want to learn from you. What's on your mind?
Absolutely. So to address the first point of who's exactly benefiting from the case training, we want to introduce a case model for everyone in the Langham Hospitality Group. It's not reserved for any specific brands or any specific group of people, but rather it's something that everyone in Langham Group can benefit from, because investing in the employees, we believe, will incentivize them to invest in the guests, and now therefore invest in the customer loyalty that they'll bring to your hotel. For the second portion, the advertising cost that we budgeted for the strategies is only specific to the Ying Hotel. It does not speak to the overall advertising cost of the entire company. I would believe that a 2.8 million...
How are you going to spend that 2.8 million a year? Even for just one hotel?
Yeah, absolutely. So some examples of how that advertising will be used is spending it on bringing the Class A journalists to Ying Hotels and letting them stay for 3 or 4 days and having them write journals for you. Because what we learned from the VP of marketing 2 days ago was that a key component of your marketing department is to find cost-free marketing, which is having them write journals and entries for you without actually paying them to and without explicitly providing a fee for them, but rather just implicitly inviting them to experience the hotels and having them write on it by themselves, and therefore that will drive your advertising through the customers that they reach.
Look, I think all of that looks great. What do we do to begin executing?
So prioritizing the actions is really crucial in terms of what needs to be done immediately, as Merle mentioned, the implementation timeline versus what can be held upon at a later date so you can actually have time for executing it. So the most important platform right now that we want to execute when executing the mobile contract is beginning the mobile development and infrastructure, because that inherently takes a lot of time already. And so, okay.
Thank you, Team 1.